Welcome to CV Hustle, the podcast created to educate, inform, and inspire entrepreneurship here in our Coachella Valley.
Hey everybody, I'm Robert Meraz.
And I'm Fina Meraz.
And this is CV Hustle, the podcast dedicated to educating, inspiring, and informing local entrepreneurship here in the Coachella Valley. And, you know, nothing but illustrious guests is our goal on this podcast. And today we've got two of the finest dentists in all the land, the finest dentists from the windmills to here, Dr. Randolph Meraz and Dr. Michael Morz. Thank you for joining us today, guys. And truth be told, I'm a little biased on this interview because, you know, I think they're the best because if you know anything about our family, that's my father, that's my brother, but we're going to keep it very professional today.
That's right.
That's right. So, you know, we know that, Dr. Meraz, you're not really a native of the Coachella Valley. You weren't born here, correct?
That's correct.
So how did you come to this great place? How did that even come about?
Well, that's an interesting story.
Well, I'm all ears.
When I was a fresh graduate out of high school, looking for adventure, a friend and I decided to hop in a freight car in Norwalk, California, to see where it would take us. So
was it moving at the time?
It was moving, just like in the movies.
Like
just like the
Were you wearing your Nikes?
We're going someplace, like Stymie said in that great Little Rascals episode.
Wow.
We're on our way, but I don't know where I'm going.
Oh, wow.
So we hopped in a freight train in the train yards in Norwalk, and it brought us to the city of Indio in the middle of summer, an August summer day. There were dust devils flying around. It was boiling hot, and we looked at each other. This guy's name was Greg. He says, "Where the H are we?" We found out from the hobos in the train yard of Indio that, you know, this is where we were. It was Indio, California. And I thought to myself, I ain't ever going back that place. It was boiling hot. Well, fast forward to 5 years later. Well, not 5 years, more like 8 years later. Undergraduate, Cal State Fullerton, 4 years, a degree in biology from Cal State. Then dental school for 4 more years.
Where did you go to dental school?
Oh, that was USC.
Woo!
Yeah.
Fight on.
And at the time, it was 1980, and I needed to find a place to work now that we were, now graduating from dental school. I did a grid map of the state of California since I could practice anywhere in the state. And my first choice was Laguna Beach, and I'm sure Bobby would have loved to grow up in Laguna Beach.
Who wouldn't love Laguna Beach?
Good choice.
Yeah.
Good choice.
But the ratio to dentists and population was like 1 to 10 or something ridiculous. It was just too many dentists already there. So I had to look for other places in the state of California that were underserved and needed dental care. And that's where Riverside County, and specifically the Coachella Valley, came up.
Really?
So in 1980, the ratios were just, off the charts, that I knew that establishing a practice in Indio, I should have no problem.
Yeah, you should have a good chance making this business thrive.
So that was the whole thing. And I thought back to that train and that hot August day. I said, I'm going back to Indio. Oh, no.
I'm going to melt.
We're going to melt. Yeah. It was so bloody hot here.
So you ended up driving out here for the weekend and finding a place to live, or how did that start?
It started, with an inquiry at the office that was already here. A couple offices. There were a couple established offices, and just walking in and say, "Hey, you need help here." And I found a doctor who his name was Dr. Winneman, and he had an office in Indio, and he offered me a position. Since he's an older guy that was getting ready to get out of the dental profession. And so I worked a couple days a week out here. I drove, stayed at the Motel 6.
Wow.
I without air conditioning, I drove out here.
Wow.
Oh, my goodness.
Was Mom there with you?
In the summer?
In the summer.
Whoa.
So, I had a little spray bottle of water on the seat. I was squirting myself as I drove drove into Indio and worked there in his office for, I think it was 3 days, a week. So I stayed at the Motel 6 for 2 days and then, worked in his office that day and then headed on home to La Habra. We had a place in La Habra, and that's where, he was born at that time in Orange County.
Wow.
So, so I was driving out, spending a couple days.
And so how long did you end up working for that guy?
It wasn't long. It was maybe 3 months to 6 months, something like that, when I got together with a friend of mine who had just graduated as well, and we decided, let's go into practice together. Let's buy this guy out, since he had we thought, this is a gold mine.
Partnership, huh? So you
we
said
had a partnership, and we decided to buy Dr. Winneman out of the practice and have a 2-person practice and go from there.
So when I'm assuming that his business already had like a receptionist and somebody to do that, or did you have to bring in your own?
No, it was a ready-made practice. The practice was already up and running, and it had a clientele. It had a patient population. So all we had to do was do the dentistry, and that worked out for maybe a year, maybe longer. But we decided that it was time to go. It was time to split up. The practice was not. Yeah, it wasn't able to support 2 doctors. What we found is we just couldn't get enough patients into the practice that would support two doctors full time. Part time, yeah, but full time, no. So one day we decided to flip a coin to see who would get the practice and who would walk out the door.
You really flipped a coin?
We really flipped a coin.
Your fate was all on a coin flip?
Both of our futures was on a coin flip.
We could have been born in
we were going to DHS if he lost. That was the deal.
Is that what it was?
Wow.
Thank God you won.
We would have went to DHS.
That would have been it.
But did you pick heads or tails?
I don't remember.
Did you have somebody witness it so it was legal or something?
No, I don't know if anybody witnessed it, but we were pretty tight as a partnership. He knew my likes and I knew his, and we were pretty close. So it wasn't a question about you win, I lose kind of thing. It was somebody gets the practice and the other guy's walking out the door.
Wow.
So it was I got what I thought was the grand prize, but it turned out that it was I got the short end of the stick actually, but we made it work. We made it work. We made that practice thrive, and in time moved it to we thought a better location. So we did all right.
So it was in India. So you moved out here. You ended up having to move out here, correct?
Right.
And you were.
Right.
Well, I was young. I don't even remember.
Right,
4 or 5.
five?
I was a little.
Yeah. He's a little guy.
I don't remember too much of that.
Yeah. We got a place on Miles Avenue in the old section of Indio on those old Delgant Noir homes development, the homes built in the 50s, which were, in my opinion, the nicest homes in the valley. But they're,
And where was that location? Was it here in Indio?
Yeah, where the Indio Fashion Mall is.
Oh,
right there. It was in the section that has right now. What's there right now?
Jeweler?
Gosh, I don't even.
There's still a dental office there.
There is.
That
There is
could
still.
be it.
Last time I was in there.
Yeah.
Could be
In the fashion mall, there was a dentist.
in one of the entry corridors.
Yeah, this would be the street on Monroe, and the group of buildings right there, the strip mall.
Right in front of the Wells Fargo, right there.
Right
in front of the Wells Fargo.
Right in front of the Wells Fargo. But that was our office. We had something like 2,000 square feet. It was a pretty big office. We had plenty of operatories and plenty of room.
So what happened with that business? You said the location was no good, or what ended up happening next?
What happened next was something that Bobby got to participate in. And that was the Nobles Ranch controversy of 1980,
Wow, you take it way
82,
back.
83,
That's old
84.
Indio history right here.
And that was, basically it was a property grab by the city of Indio to oust a historically black community from the neighborhood, from the land. They used the powers of eminent domain to condemn these black family homes and to steal their land. So I rose up, went to the city council, says, you guys are messed up. You're doing the wrong thing here. What you're doing is wrong.
Sure.
I had patients from that community and in my practice, and I knew them. They were my friends. And they asked me to stand with them and intervene in that whole controversy. So Bobby went on a protest march one day singing "We Shall Overcome" to the city hall from
It's in my blood.
Nobles Ranch
It's in my blood.
to express dissatisfaction with the powers that be by the Indio City Council. I hope this doesn't offend anybody, but
It's too long ago. Those guys are dead.
That's it.
All the city council's gone.
yeah,
too long
you're
ago.
probably right.
Yeah.
But that was enough to force me to start looking for a new location because I wanted to get out of there. I
That
didn't
area.
want to be part of
Associated with that.
Yeah, those powers that be there that we were going to move. And consequently, this opens up a whole chapter in our background because we were sued by the Indio Fashion Mall owners
Because you left that
breaking the
location?
lease, right?
for not only that but being a part of the protest against their expansion. They were the ones that forced the issue with the city council to take that land.
They wanted-
It was the owners of that mall. I know the guy's name, but I won't say it. But
Yeah.
that was the genesis of me leaving the mall and getting another location.
So really, protesting was a part of that lawsuit. Just being at the protest and participating. in the
Yeah,
protest?
we thought for a while we had a civil rights lawsuit against the city of Indio because that's the way it basically
Man, that's
transpired.
pretty-
That would have been
crazy.
a legal a stand that would have got into that
Right.
if we
Fifth
pursued
Amendment and
that,
all that
but
stuff, right? I mean,
We just we settled out of court is what
It was time to go.
And
so,
it was time to go.
So you
I
ended
guess,
up
right?
finding,
it was time to move.
It was
Well-
time to go.
and that's when you made the move to the place near Stater Brothers.
Yes.
Okay.
That was Stater Brothers, and we were there for 20 odd years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
been a
stayed
while
in
that you were there.
We had and we were very successful. We did great there. We had a thriving practice, and
Did you double your size when you moved? It's like double the size. of the
triple
office,
the
right?
size?
Oh, triple.
Yeah, we had almost over 2,000 square feet in that office in Stater Brothers. It actually was 3 900 square foot suites all put together
Gotcha.
in one big unit. So we had plenty of room. We had plenty of room, and the practice did real well, and we were very happy.
And by this time, how many children did you have?
By that time, they probably had a full complement. 5 kids.
Bus
Five
full.
kids.
Yeah.
4 boys and one
Minivan
daughter,
full at that point.
And it was time to,
Yeah.
Then that was part of the joy in my day was to see the kids, show up after school and kind of run through the corridors of the office and do the hand balloons with the gloves,
You remember doing that?
I'm sure I did. Sure I did. We were at I remember being at the office quite a bit growing up. They used to have a back room for us at the old one. Remember the very first one,
Yep.
where they threw us after school, and it would be back there running through the laboratories when patients were there, and it was quite a scene back in the day.
And your mom started working at the practice too, right? When did that happen, and how did that happen?
Their mom has always been a part of the practice. She was always involved in one way or another with either the employees and their needs,
Oh, yeah.
But basically running the front office as well as paying the vendors, the bills that we had, the labs we had, the supplies, the people that kept the office going. She was the one
Behind the
really,
scenes. Keeping it going.
pulling the strings to get things taken care of. And that was, that lifted so much off of my shoulders, and I was very appreciative.
Yeah, so you could just work and do your dentistry. And were you the only dentist there, or how many?
Over time, I've brought in other doctors, for either short periods or long periods. I think we had one fellow, Dr. Lieber, who was with us for probably 7-8 years, maybe longer. That's Patty. But yeah, at times we had a second doctor coming in, part-time usually. They were never full-time. So
How many employees do you think you had at your biggest?
Their height.
At your height.
Good question. I'd have to say about, considering that our hygienists were mostly part-time, we had 2 full-time assistants, front office, and insurance, maybe 7, 8 people that, going at one time.
It's a pretty big office, big operation at that point.
We supported, a few people with the practice. That was important to us to, give people, good jobs and keep them employed.
Didn't you have a job? Didn't you take a job there for a short period of time?
We all
Or how
worked
did
there
that-
at one
We all
point.
worked there.
Everybody worked there?
I don't know how much work they actually got out of us, but
we all
technically were
rotated through
on
there.
the payroll for a little while.
Well, you told me you were the best employee ever.
That would be a lie. That would be not
But didn't
the
you-
truth.
Didn't you deliver teeth or something?
No, that was in high school. My mom got me a job with a lab that they worked with, and they needed a delivery guy, so it was cool because I could just take my little car and
then go.
drive around and drop off the dental work to all these different
They
offices.
had us all there at one point. I was walking there when I was like 9 years old, going clocking in and cleaning the floors and stuff, and just
At 9 years old?
Well, we lived right around the corner.
breaking some
remember?
labor laws.
Really?
right
Then you
there.
guys
We lived
moved
across the street, and so it
They
was
needed
right
you needed a bigger house.
You get a bigger house.
More kids,
We had
bigger
to get
house.
off Miles Avenue and head to the Santa Fe homes on Monroe.
Yeah, so we were right there.
Yeah, you were literally a
It was
block
literally
away.
around the corner.
It was right.
Maybe I
around
was
the
10.
He's right.
11, I don't know. I was young.
Yeah, that made it very convenient. Keep these kids busy. We thought that they would learn something about working, what it meant to put in some time and contribute to the family,
Family business.
prosperity. That was a family business.
Do you ever look back and go, how did I raise a family and a business with all this going on? You've got, family of 5 and you've got a wife.
God bless me with a beautiful, loving wife. And that was the glue
That was the key.
that kept this whole operation running, that I had someone beside me to make this happen in a way that the kids benefited as well as the family benefited. So that's important, to have somebody by your side that sees you with all your flaws and all the sharp edges, and still loves you.
Yeah.
And still
It's
wants
important.
to come by your side and be your partner in this life. And that was my wife. That was Patty.
Because everybody was in sports.
Yes.
So you were all over the place with multiple kids.
I don't know how we got 2, and I don't know how you guys did it.
Yeah.
That's why we all play football.
Yeah, we can only play certain sports.
only
though.
play fo-
You have
yeah.
to follow your brother because
Yeah, exactly.
we're not going to another field.
only one stop.
You're going to one. You guys are all going to the same football practice, same basketball.
Playing with the older
practice.
kids. I don't care if you're 6 or 10-year-old.
So that's why we were better, because we played with older kids.
Absolutely.
But no, I remember that. Like, I look back and I'm kind of in awe. Like, how did you guys do that? It's tough with just our one athlete that we have. It's like we're always running into practice. You guys have multiple practices going on all the time and running a business.
Honestly, that time for us is a blur. It wasn't.
That's what I always say.
to pick a certain time period that you can actually visualize and remember. It doesn't happen anymore for me.
Right.
It's all just
time.
fast forward.
Yeah.
It just happened. Okay, we got it. Yeah, because you're right. Yeah, some days on Saturdays particularly, there were many hats that I would have to wear. I was the president of the organization. I was a coach, a head coach usually at one team or another, and I was an assistant coach in another team. So I'd go from one team to another on the same day. And we'd have 3 kids playing at least one game that day. When Bobby got to high school, it was now we have that to contend with.
Sure.
Yeah.
The girls always tell me at the office, because a lot of them are still there that have been there for years, that the only time that he really hustled and worked super fast was during football season, because we had to get to practice at like 3:30.
Production would way up during football season.
I'll work through lunch, like jumbo book me, I don't care. Like, let's go.
Double book.
Wow.
I'm not missing practice.
They found the key to getting production up.
That's right.
Great football season year round.
Football time. Let's go.
Wow.
All right. So let's fast forward. So you were there at the one place, and then how did you end up to where you are now? What happened there?
I mean, you were at
The new office.
You were at the old one for what? 15 years?
Yeah, we had to be there a long time, and it just that's a good question. I'm going to have to kind of rewind the tapes. what it was that motivated us from getting out of that Stater Brothers.
You were up for a new lease.
Probably up for a new lease.
You were up for a new lease.
Okay.
Yeah, I think your
Did you
your
fight with the
contract-
city
your con-
again on that one too? I'm sensing a
from
theme
what I've
here.
been-
I did.
Sensing
I
a
remember
theme,
that
I'm
your
sensing a
lease was-
theme of rebelling against authority here.
Yeah. I think there were going to be changes in the contract.
There you go.
Yeah,
that
I
was
think there were
it.
changes
That was
to the terms of the lease, the agreements.
They were going to jack the rent up, and really stick it to us for the space that we had. So, my plan. Okay, you're going to do this. I'm leaving. Found a place, and this is where the fight with the city comes in. We located the place we're at now. And I went to the city planning department. I says, here's my plans for a new office. Would you please approve these? And I went to the planning department. And then they looked at the plans and said, the head guy says, I'm sorry, doctor, but we can't approve these plans. And I said, well, why not? This is a licensed architect who drew up these plans. They're perfectly good plans. He said, well, the law stipulates that in the Indio corridor of Highway 111, there can be no medical or dental offices put into this corridor of Highway 111.
Oh, you were grandfathered in because you had been there so long.
That was my argument with the city. I said, hey, I already have a footprint in that corridor, and I've been there for 15 years. And you're going to deny me access to this part over here, which is closer to, La Quinta. I'm moving towards that border.
That's like, what, half a mile away? It's not that far.
Down the street.
Yeah.
Down the street. So, so it was another battle with the city that we needed to resolve, and this is one that I think the good Lord kind of had His hand in this whole mix, because I got contacted by a city council member that said, Dr. Meraz, you must have higher powers working for you, because we decided as a city council to approve your plans.
Wow.
And I said, hallelujah. I didn't have to go. I was planning on going actually to a city council board meeting. They only had them like once a month on Wednesday nights, where the public could get to the microphone and speak to the powers that be, right?
Sure.
And I was teaching a Bible study, so I couldn't go. So I said, Lord, it's in your hands. I can't speak at this meeting, but you know what's going on. And I left it at that. And I got the call the next morning.
Oh, my goodness.
That they had approved my plans at that meeting.
And this place where you moved was a new building. So when you're talking about the plans, it was you had to figure out what was going to go where, how many chairs you were going to put in, where your office was going to be. So it was this was a new adventure for you all, right?
Right. It was raw space, basically. That suite had formerly been a gym. So it was basically just wide open space with no walls when we got it. And so we had to, we'd already gone to an architect and got the plans drawn up how to divide the that piece of property into a dental office. So we already, kind of worked that out. That was just part of that process. So we had the plans. We just needed a contractor who would build it out for us. And that's, where the dental companies kind of came forward and helped us out with that.
Yeah, because you've got to put plumbing in there. You've got to build walls. It's not a
putting up walls.
cheap endeavor by any means.
Walls. So you got to protect against radiation.
There's all kinds of.
You have to. There's a lot
that goes to it, man.
There's a lot of planning that goes into that build out of that office. Bottom line, it was about $500,000 to do that build out. Was the plumbing, the electric, we had to have drainage from those. Think of those rooms that with the little suction thing to get the goo out of somebody's mouth. It's got to go somewhere. It can't just go into the floor.
Yeah, it can't just go in the sewage line. Yeah.
Were you able to take anything from the old office to the new office, or did you start new?
No, we did do a lot of new equipment buying, but we took some of that stuff out of the old office.
Yeah.
Because we had to. It was just too much equipment that, we'd have to purchase it to make it a brand new operation. So it took some thinking, it took some planning, it took some good people. That's the important thing, that you have good people come beside you to help in that process. You can't do it yourself.
Got to align with.
It's not slapping paint on a wall and putting a fresh coat of paint on an old building. It takes so much more, and that's where you need the good people. And that's sometimes a hard thing to find, is those people that will really look out for your best interest. And when it's family, that's all good.
And they're to support you.
Even better, right?
So during this time, you were going to college. What was going on during this time, and what?
When they moved to the new office?
Yes.
Cycle was still.
So they moved. You moved there what, 2008? 2000.
High school. You barely get out of high school.
You were still in high school, I believe.
I was in college at that point. It was a 2008. Do you remember the year when you guys went? I don't know.
Daddy, need some help.
2009? No, the one we're in now. 98? No, the office we're in right now. So it's a blur. It's been
anyway.
It's been
a while. You've been there 15 years.
I was probably in high school, college, at least 15 years.
15 years at least. Yep.
I think mid to late 05, 08, somewhere in that range.
That's about right.
Almost at 20 years, right?
Yeah, we're coming up on another lease renewal.
Yeah, that's right. Actually, because we renewed. Yeah, I think it was 08. I think it was around 07, 08, because we renewed the lease.
Yeah.
So
2008.
So 2008. So
and
I was
Michael,
in college.
you weren't always you had other when you were younger, you didn't dentistry wasn't really on your radar initially, right?
It wasn't on any of our radar.
I couldn't do it. I was like,
I didn't think about it either. I mean, we didn't.
I was not even considering it. I don't think I didn't have the smarts to get through dental school, so I knew I wasn't going to do it. But you were kind of like the last of the Mohicans, right? Because you're the youngest boy.
Yeah.
And so how did dentistry, that's the question I've always how did dentistry even jump on your radar? When did you say, hey, maybe this is something I can do?
Well, I mean, I was in college at the time, and we'd grown up with sports, and so I was a journalism major, and I was at San Diego State, and I was working for the sports paper, and I was doing my thing, and Kawhi Leonard was there, and it was a lot of fun and everything, but I came to the realization hey, this could turn into work, and this isn't what I kind of thought it was.
Not as fun as
it's not as fun as I thought it was going to be. I'm writing the same story over and over,
right?
And this is not really something I see doing the rest of my life. So I was kind of just at a blank slate at a crossroads, and then obviously Dad's a huge influence. We didn't grow up. He didn't grow up you never hear him talk about teeth.
No,
like, he didn't come home talking.
You didn't ever talk shop. That's one thing. I had no idea what happened day to day at the office. It was never about that. So
yeah,
you were never grooming anybody to succeed. You were just like, you know, if you
letting everybody take their own path.
Yeah, everybody kind of took their own path. To credit to you guys. I mean, they kind of let us figure it out for ourselves.
Right. And that's kind of how we were raised. I mean, I just never crossed any of our minds. I think I know families who they have all of the kids are they're all dentists, and they all
stay in the family business, right?
In the family business. And I always remember this one memory I had while I was like in junior high, and I had a friend over, and he was like, had something going on with his tooth, and he's like, oh, I didn't know your dad was a dentist. And it was like, so I was talking to Dad, and he's like, hey, I got something going on with my tooth. What do you think's going on? He's like, yeah, you should probably go to your dentist and get that checked out. Like, it's just kind of like, So he didn't really want to, he didn't come home talking about teeth.
No,
he didn't come home
like
talking shop. He didn't push it on us. So, but when at that time in college, I was it was like a blank slate. So I was kind of looking, and I had always been interested in medical. Always been interested in like becoming a doctor or doing something, to help, just for the community, to help people, public service type situation. That always kind of appealed to me. So that was always in the back of my mind, like, maybe I'll go for medical school, I'll go be some kind of doc or something like that. So then at that point in time, I was kind of just open to everything. And then I don't know when it kind of clicked, but I just, I don't remember if I was more observant, kind of like what you were doing, or kind of, how you guys, but I just remember being in the office more and seeing how he was with the patients, and seeing the relationships that he would have with his patients. And I mean, even to this day, like the patients, they love him, and patients do not love their dentist like they love this guy. Yeah. Like, that's not a common thing, right?
40 years of service, man.
I mean, but just like the uniqueness of that, right? And then, so the more I looked at it like that, it's really a people business. You're taking care of families, you're taking care of your community. You have open doors, just take care of the patients who are in front of you. And so that was the thing, is him and mom and the whole office would treat everyone like family, being in that environment. And you're really doing positive things. People are coming to you and trouble and pain, they have problems, and you're trying to help them. The dentist aspect has a negative kind of connotation for most people, but you're just trying to help. You're just trying to help people out. And so all of that kind of started to appeal to me, and then the wheels just started turning. And then I didn't even know if I was gonna make it or do it. It's hard, it's a lot of science, it's a lot of studies.
I mean,
and I was already I was already 3/4 into my major of journalism at the time, so I had to completely change course, and so it took a lot of adjusting and kind of help along the way, different classes and stuff. But that was really where it just kind of switched. I was still in school.
So you made that decision in college, to kind of move forward with the whole. And I mean, what was it like to kind of carry on his legacy, or was it more just to? I have a ready-made business that I can run. Like, what was kind of the driving factor of making that? 'Cause that's a lot. I mean, that's a big change from journalism to dentistry. That's a big shift.
It was more just, and that the aspect of coming and taking over the business and doing that. That never played into it.
It wasn't a legacy play then.
No, and then it was always something I was hesitant about, just because. I don't want people, to look at something like nepotism, or just you're coming in and, your dad, and so you're just like this.
It's always a kid that comes in and messes up the business.
Yeah, you want to blaze your own trail. Like when I went to dental school, you interview. When you go to dental school, you submit your applications, and you have to interview at different schools. So you submit the app first, you take all the tests, do all the classes. Then, if you're lucky, you get an interview at a school. You have to go to the school, do an interview. So I got 5 or 6 interviews, and I went and I interviewed at Temple in Philly, and that was a big one that I did. I did a couple other ones. I regret not doing NYU and some of the more fun ones, but Temple and USC were my big ones, and I got into both. And I really wanted to go to USC, but Dad went to USC.
Legacy play, though.
Yeah, exactly. And
right.
So, hey, it's Southern California.
So I mean,
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. So I was really close to going to Temple.
Philadelphia.
Just to kind of chart my own path and have a different experience. But my girlfriend and wife currently was here in Southern California, so that was
So I'm not moving to the East Coast, bro.
She wasn't, not as my girlfriend, she wasn't. And so that was a big factor too. But that part never really that didn't motivate me. Like, I'm going to become a dentist because, you know, I have this path charted for me. Like, that wasn't really on my radar a lot. I was there, obviously. I mean, he's a dentist, and, you know, if I'm a dentist, you know, it makes it easier.
It helps, right?
Well, I think too, I mean, I always think about grandma. Grandma always wanted attorneys and doctors in the family, right?
Yep.
And so, you know, if I had she probably planted that seed maybe a little too.
Yeah, you know.
And, that was Mom. You're right, yeah, and she talked to us about that growing up, that we were going to do well in school. School was our number one priority.
Well, and it was also to help the family, right? So you had a doctor in the family. Something happened. You know, we all go to Dr. Meraz for our dental needs. So, and it's just kind of continued. And so you're helping not only your community, but you're helping your family as well.
Wow.
So
I think that played into it too. You know, I think you made a good point. Like, you know, us growing up, you know, I think both our parents, my mom and my dad, did a good job of instilling confidence in us. And there was this expectation, like, you know, when I was doing journalism, it was like, hey, I can do this, but I got to be damn good at this. And I got to, like, make it on ESPN, and I got to have a career out. You know, I can't, like, I can't be slumming around and, like, be freelancing and not work. You know, like, you got to do good. And I think that was the expectation on us is, one, you can do whatever you want to do. You can be whatever you want to be, and you have the smarts and all the tools to do it. So, I mean, I think for me, that was a big motivator too. It's like, I know I need to do something important, you know, and I got to go out and do something.
Well, we always say Michael was the smartest.
Well, I mean,
Right.
Is that what you say?
You're the cutest.
my sister might disagree with that, but
You're the cutest, but Michael's the smartest.
this is true. And I'm the wisest too, but
I'm biased.
you are biased. So USC, you get into USC, you know, you're kind of following that trajectory.
Yep.
Get out of USC, and then what kind of career path? It kind of took you off the path a little bit, right?
Yeah.
When you got that dental bill or that dental school bill,
Yeah.
it was like time to make a U-turn real quick.
Yeah.
And so what happened in that time?
So that was actually premeditated. That was, so when you go to school, any professional school, you know, it's expensive. You know, tuition's really high. There's not a lot of loans. There's not a lot of government. You can get FAFSA and a lot of stuff for undergraduate degrees, but you gotta. I mean, dental school, you gotta graduate high school. You gotta get a bachelor's, then you get a doctorate. So you're talking about 8-9 years post high school to even start your career as a dentist, right? And so that last 4 years usually is pretty expensive. The cost of the dental school is really, really high right now. And so I had done some research, and I kind of was, you know, that was the biggest thing is applying to dental school. I'm going to have a couple $100,000 in debt and these student loans that I'm going to have to take on. How am I going to pay for this, right? Like, what am I going to do? And so our brother, Billy, went through the Naval Academy. He was in the Navy. And so we had a little bit of exposure, you know, to the military side of things. And so I don't remember who plugged me into it, but the military has health profession scholarships. And so it is not just for dental. It's for medical, vet, dental, nursing. So they have scholarship programs that will basically pay for your tuition to go to school. So the way it works with dental is you have to get into the school first, then you have to apply for the scholarship, and you have to get and be approved for the scholarship before you start school. So you have this little window of getting into school and then getting the scholarship. And so when I got in, I had already known. I told everybody, I think I told my parents, I said, the second I get that acceptance letter, I'm going right down to that Army recruiter, that Navy, just like sign me up. Here's my acceptance, sign me up today.
And that's what you did?
Wow.
Yep. And I couldn't find the Navy guys, and I couldn't find the Air Force guys, so I had to go Army, because the Army guys were like, come on in, like, we'll take you. That's fine. Come on. The Air Force
takes everybody.
Dude, the Air Force guy was out golfing. I know now when it was. Like, Navy guy was MIA. So, yeah, the Army guy was ready to go. Brought me in. It was a process. It was like 3-4 months. You know, you have to get approved. And I initially didn't get it. There's a lot of stuff.
I was going to say, like, do you go into it knowing you're going to get the scholarship?
No, they don't.
You're taking a chance.
They don't give it. Yeah, they don't give it to everybody. No, the Army. So when I was doing it, this was, mind you, this was like 12 years ago. So it's probably changed for sure because cost of tuition's gone up. But the Army had the most, the Navy had the second most, and the Air Force had the least. So they were the most selective. And so it's a whole process. When you get it, when you're in school, you have to maintain a certain GPA. You have to serve like so many weeks active duty per year. There's a lot of stipulations when you get it. So it's not a guarantee at all, and so you have to like formally be offered the scholarship, and then you have to decide if you want to take it before you even start your schooling. So you have to take it before dental school or medical school even starts.
So you already know.
Okay.
You already know.
After you're done, you're getting shipped out to the Army.
Yeah, the day you graduate, you're getting shipped off to basic, and you're starting your training, and you're going to whatever base that they send you to. Like, you already know, but that's already, but it's, that going into it. You signed up for it, right. So that going into it.
It's a big commitment. You're talking years of your life, right? That are kind of
but in my career path, I think it was one of the best things I did, the smartest things I did.
Totally.
I know people who got the scholarship, and mind you, dental school is even more so now. When I was there, it's like $300,000-$500,000.
Wow!
So,
right now it's $300,000.
Well, now it's more.
It's more.
Now
than
it's more. Wow. Now it's more. Now it's over half. Even the affordable are over $500,000.
How could you even?
So
how does that work?
It's crazy.
There's a lot. That's a whole. That could be a whole podcast on the cost of education and
crazy, man.
There's a whole can of worms there for sure. But I knew people who got the scholarship and turned it down because they didn't want to do the military commitment.
Mm-hmm. And now they owe $300,000 times 3. Like $1 million. Oh my gosh.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
How do you? Yeah.
So when you get the scholarship, do you get a choice of where you're going? Like you said, you knew you were going to get
in the military.
Yeah. Do you get to say, "Hey, I'm going to go here"?
You got to say.
I've heard people say you could pick your top 3.
Yeah. So what they did was you have your recruiter, you have whoever they contacted me. Like, this is like my 3rd year of dental school. And they are going into 4th. You're getting close, right? And so they're like, hey, we got you down. This is when we're going to have you go out to basic, blah, blah, blah. These are the bases where we're going to need dentists. And so we're going to ship you to one of these bases. They say like 15 to 20. They're like, we want you to rank these bases based on where you want to go. And so this is just, but it's like a military thing. They're asking, but they're not really asking. They're just kind of like, they're giving you the perception that like you got something to say, you have something to say about it. So I gave my list, and I had gotten married at the time, so I did it with my wife Alina, and so we ranked all of them, and she didn't want to put Hawaii on the list, which I still kind of resent to this day, but I got served in Hawaii for 4 years, and we left that off the list. But so we made our top 10, and I put Fort Lewis, Washington as my first one. It seemed like a really nice base, and luckily the recruiter called me months later when it was time, and they said, hey, they're gonna PCSU Fort Lewis in Washington. So we actually ended up getting. So it actually worked out. It actually did work. One of my good friends I went to dental school with, he had the exact same list I had. And so I called him really excited, and I'm like, hey, I got Fort Lewis, so we're going to be there together. You had the same list, right? What'd you get? And he checks his email. He's like, I got El Paso, Texas. So it was a little different for him. So it was just, it just happened that way that we got it. So you get a say. They take it into consideration. In the military, I enjoy the military. There's a lot of things that go into, but I'm sure someone looked at it and gave us Fort Lewis and kind of got us there.
Absolutely. So like when you go to, so then they say, okay, you're going to basic training. What does that mean? What are you doing? What are they teaching you?
As a dentist, what are you doing?
Yeah.
No, it wasn't dentist. Yeah, it was Army. It was Army basic training. It was like
a regular grunt.
You were running?
We were rucking. They call it rucking. You strap up your boots, you put on your rucksack, middle of the night. You're sleeping out. And the Army actually they do field training, so you actually sleep outside. You actually go out. There's rattlesnakes in the tents and stuff. There's communal showers and baths. Yeah. So the nice thing about it is you go in, and there's a hierarchy in the military. So you come in and you're an officer, and so what that means is you're on this you have a little more respect. Usually officers have degrees, they have advanced training. So they have a little more pull. So you automatically commission as an officer. It's not even just usually you start as an 01 or lieutenant. You actually start as a captain at an 03 because they actually count your years in school as time of service in the military. So you actually come in as a captain. So the rank you have is nice. You have a little pole. Sure. You're not like a grunt. You're not like a enlisted infantryman, going out there. But it is basic. We had to go through the basic training, sleep out in the fields. It was basic, but it's basic for doctors and officers and stuff.
But didn't you have to learn guns and all of
you
that?
go out and you shoot, and you qualify, and you have to do the military minimums, but I think that's the misconception is, everybody in the Army is like special forces and they're doing this and they're jumping on the planes and they're doing this, and we weren't doing that. You can. One of my good buddies was a major. I wish I did. One of my buddies who I share an office with, he was what they call a jump master. He'd jump out of a plane once a week. And but he didn't do a lot of dentistry. He was a dentist, so, he wasn't cutting a lot of teeth, but he was doing that. He was with the special forces. That was his kind of career path. It was super cool,
Wow.
But we were dentists, so when we got out, we practiced dentistry, and then the doctors do their training as doctors, and they kind of see their patients and everything. So you do the basic training is anywhere from 6 to 12 weeks. So that's the minimum. You do that, and then you get sent to your station, and then you start your actual career, which is
you're working on people in the Army.
You're working on active duty military members. Yeah. So basically active duty Army soldiers, potentially families, but mainly in most places just active duty.
And the way that works is you are also getting paid, correct? So so not only are they taking off some of your student debt, you're also getting paid. So it kind of seems like a sweet deal.
You're also getting paid while you're in school. So you actually get a stipend while you're going to school. It wasn't much. I went to school in USC. I got married, and so we had to have a decent sized place, and our bills were more than what they were paying, but it was a couple grand a month. It'll cover a big chunk of it, right? Yeah. And so, it was great. It was, like I said, it was one of the best decisions I made, just to not be drowning in debt when you're graduating from school. There's other ways to do it. There's a really famous clip of Dave Ramsey talking about a dental student calls him and asks him, "Hey, I got into dental school and it's going to be $500,000-$600,000 just to go to this school. Should I take out a loan and do it?" And Dave Ramsey says, "No." He says, "Go find another career. It's not worth it."
Wow.
So Randy, how did you feel knowing your son was going to be in the Army?
We had an agreement with all 5 of our children that we would cover their expenses as undergraduates. They'd get a free pass, basically. We'd pay their expenses for that degree, a bachelor's, in whatever they chose. But after that, and it came to graduate school,
we're out.
You got to find a way to do it. And with Michael, that became that military scholarship. And,
so
Bobby had this, the same deal.
Did I have the same deal? I just finished paying off my student debt, so I don't feel like I had that same deal. I think that deal might have skipped me.
I don't know what papers you've signed.
I got to look at my contract.
I want a refund.
I need to look at that contract, because we just
then we would owe you money.
I'm a little old to be paying student debt, but so Michael, when you came out of the Army, right? It was already predetermined that you were going to go start working in the practice, right, and get your teeth cut in the private sector? Or?
I think so. I don't know if we had any formal big meetings or anything. I think it was pretty much assumed I would come and just kind of start working there and just kind of ease in, and then just slowly kind of get my feet wet, and then just take on a larger role as we both got more comfortable with it. So I don't think it was a big thing. I think it was more just an understanding, like, okay, when you're done, just come out here, help me out, got a place to do dentistry, I got a place to keep doing my dentistry,
time to get to work,
seeing patients,
time to get to work.
So was it intimidating walking into his clientele, knowing how much they love this guy? And now they got, the punk kid coming in fresh off the boat,
Michael's no punk.
Well, I know, but from their point of view, the young whippersnapper coming in there, and Dr. Meraz ain't gonna see him anymore. It's Dr. Michael now. So,
Or did you start with your own clientele?
That had to be kind of a transition, right? Like that was something that you guys.
It has to be. Yeah, people are used to a certain protocol in any medical or dental office setting, and you change it. Yeah. But the fact of the matter is, Michael's an outstanding dentist.
Yeah.
He came with the skills and the personality to take care of the patients we had. People love him. They thank me all the time. Says that you got a good son there, and I appreciate that he was able to transition into that role where he's the head man here.
Right. And I would imagine at that point you had been doing dentistry for so long, you were probably, getting towards the end of your term, right? And kind of
that's true.
Relieved that
some help's come on the
you
way.
had a knight in shining armor.
Well, I think what helped with that aspect of it was because I did go to the military, and so I had 3 years. I basically had a 3-year in medicine. They call it a residency. Like you go to medical school, but you still have to do your residency, and that's where you get your chops. That's where you actually see patients. That's where you make your mistakes, unfortunately, and you learn. So I was practicing as a dentist for 3+ years, and I worked in a clinic that had 15 dentists, had all these specialists. We all shared an office together, so I could literally come and pull something like, hey, what do you think of this? And it had these colonels. These guys have been dentists for 20, 30 years. And so I learned a lot in the Army just about being a dentist. And, because when you go through school, we always joke that, they teach you just enough, but you don't know any, you don't know a lot, right when you come out,
just
right?
Enough to
You
do
do
the
just
procedure.
enough to kind of get through, and but you got to still learn, you still have to practice. That's a joke. That's why I say practice dentistry, because you're still always learning. And so had I not done that, I think we've talked about it. Like if I just came in out of school,
You would have not been
I think
ready.
that transition would have been much different because when I came in, Dad's a Dr. Meraz, and so it's like, well, we can't both be Dr. Meraz, but I was Dr. Meraz in the Army for 3.5 years. So I was comfortable being Dr. Meraz, so I took on Dr. Michael, when he kind of came in, but I had just more confidence and more, comfort, a comfort level, and I think, that's probably good too, because I'm sure he didn't want to correct any mistakes that I would have made or things that, that could have came up, and good thing the military is a good place to just expand your knowledge and gain mentorship and everything. So I think it worked out exactly how it should have, So that transition was a lot smoother just for that reason, because I already was comfortable, with myself as a dentist, as opposed to I didn't feel like he was overshadowing me so much where I was nervous to kind of
You had your own identity at that point.
Right.
And you were ready to kind of put your own stamp on it.
Right. At a different level of confidence,
Pretty smooth transition, I think.
Yeah, so you said you were talking about how you had already been practicing dentistry, but did you know how to run a business?
No.
Right? So
No.
you've got that kind of learning curve as well. So how did
that's
that?
the thing, right? It's
How
there's
did that
two sides
happen?
to
How
this,
did that
right?
happen?
Production and then actually turning a profit with the production.
That's still happening right now. I don't know
Still
if
learning
I don't know if it's happened yet. If the light bulb's turned on, exactly how it's
But
happened.
you have the staff, right? That once you guys started saying, okay, Dad's gonna start, working a little less here and there, and so you had the staff starting to see you as the Dr. Meraz taking over the business, right? So you've had that transition as well.
Well, so I came on in 2018 when I got out at the end of 2018 when I got off active duty, started working, and then we had an agreement at the beginning of 2020 that we were going to make the transition, and I was going to basically take over, and kind of do everything. I don't know if you remember about 2020, but about March of 2020 is when COVID happened, and so that was the first year where I was supposed to be the guy, and all the decisions were going to come on me. And then in the middle of March, everything shut down. And especially dental offices, they said, you are not allowed. California was one of the worst offenders, and they said, don't see anybody. Lock the door, and we'll tell you when to open it. And we don't know when you're supposed to open it. But nobody knew. Nobody knew what this thing was. There was this whole scare of dentists because this illness is a respiratory illness. We work in the mouths, and we have a high-speed hand. We have this suction and spit flying around everywhere, and this thing is in people's mouths, and it could kill you if you're exposed to it.
Yeah.
You know, and so nobody knew. So nobody knew that, and so that was like trial by fire that year of starting a business.
I remember that year we were using all your N95 masks because we had to use those at the
had to
dentist.
get the masks from you guys to even be working in the office.
Yeah,
That's right.
And so I mean that was the first time where I felt more responsible of taking over the business. And dental school, you pay all this money for an education. They don't have any business classes in dental school. They don't teach you,
right? You come into this thing not knowing what top line revenue and bottom line revenue is. You don't know, how to balance. You do a spreadsheet and balance all your bills versus
and you don't, and I don't know if you absolutely need to know every little detail like that. Luckily for both of us, me and Dad, Mom was our saving grace with that. She knew the books, and she balanced everything. She's double checking on everything, and she's making sure all the bills are paid. That was both of our safety nets because all we know how to do is work on teeth, and everything else, we put out fires as they come up, we try and figure stuff out, but in a professional environment like that, you got to have support. You got to have people got your back, people who know what they're doing, and especially that year, that was such a whirlwind of a year.
That was a year of change for everybody that year.
Yeah. So, I mean, that was, for both of us, I mean, she's constantly been there, kind of helping guide through those storms and everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, COVID, your first year, huh?
And your dad got sick?
He got sick with COVID?
No.
Oh, his surgery?
Oh, that's right.
Right.
Oh, you want to hear that?
I mean, that's kind of a downer story.
No, I think no, because he's great now.
Well, yeah,
you know what I mean?
He's better than before.
That's
better
right.
than before.
But I mean that took a play into not early retirement, but working less. You had to take care of your health.
Yeah, obviously, I needed to take a rest.
Yeah.
From what I was doing, but again, the fact of the matter is that I had somebody here that was ready to take over the burden, because that's what being self-employed is. Mm-hmm. It's a burden. But it's a burden with benefits.
Oh, yeah.
You're working, I think Bobby said it in the first podcast, that you're working for yourself now. You may spend, 20 hours every day working for your business, but it's your business.
Yep.
It's your baby, and you're going to do as much as you can to make that business
you're responsible for, not only are you responsible for, like, the health of your clients, you've got staff that rely on those paychecks. So, it is a burden.
You've got labs that are expecting to be paid.
Sure.
You've got a landlord who still, expects his pay, for that building you're occupying.
Absolutely.
You have all that on your shoulders. It becomes, like I said, it becomes a very wearisome burden. But knowing that there's a payout.
That's right.
You're gonna benefit from all that, depending on how much you're gonna work for that. Mm-hmm. It's all self-driven. It may be a leaking dinghy, but it's your dinghy.
That's right. It's yours.
You're gonna sink or swim, on your own, and you're not looking to government paychecks or handouts. You got to do it yourself, and that takes a special person.
Yeah, it's not easy.
Not for everybody.
It's not for. I think
not
you said
for everybody.
It as well.
It's not for
everybody.
I remember, it was interesting. I listened to you guys' episode, and one of the things I thought, you talk about entrepreneurship, and you're saying anybody can do it, and I was like, anybody could do it. Anyone can do it, but not everybody can do it.
Yeah.
Not everybody can actually.
Not everybody should do it.
Not everybody.
It's a mentality. It really is. Once you take that leap of faith. When I was a 9-to-5 employee, I got off the clock on Friday. I didn't think about that office until Monday morning. I was like, I don't care if something went wrong, or that's not my problem. I'll deal with it when I'm on the clock. Now, I mean, it never leaves you, right? And you guys can probably attest to that. It never leaves you. You're always thinking about how to better it, how to, you know, how to make it more profitable. It's just always something, and that's part of it. That's part of the entrepreneurial experience, you know. And yeah, Dad, I mean, you've been doing it for 40 years, you know, so it's got to be kind of a nice break to not have to, like, this guy handle all that stuff, and you just come in and see the patients now, right?
It's a real pleasure and a joy that Michael's, you know, that person. And I love him, but he's a great doctor, and he takes care of the people that we have in the practice. But it's a balancing act, you know, what you're talking about. You know, you do have the responsibility of the business, and it's a weighty responsibility on your shoulders.
Absolutely.
You know, you're always worrying about something. There's something that's all you're taking home with
Always.
you every day. And the balance with your family, you know, with your you know, husband or wife, and the children, if you have kids.
Got kids too.
It's a huge, you know, you got all these, you know, balls in the air. To me, it always comes back to having the support that you need to do that. You know, and for me, it was my wife. My wife.
Absolutely.
You know, Michael's the same way. He's got a supportive, loving wife, some great kids that he can go home and see his little Noah and Nico and Jemmy and you know, Juju. Yeah, and that takes your mind to another place right now, instantly. It's like,
Well, that's where you reap the rewards of being an entrepreneur and the freedom that it gives you. Michael can take a day off and go to Jemmy's thing, or, you know, that's the trade-off. That's the trade-off right there, is that freedom. So we're running up against time here, guys, so there's a couple questions we would always like to ask at the end. So for Michael, since you're the main, you know, the boss man now, where do you see the practice going? I mean, do you see yourself expanding? Do you, like, what's the kind of the goal for you know, the business and Meraz Family Dental in the next couple of years?
It's a really good question. Yeah, that's a really good question.
I'll get back to you on that.
That's a hard hitting.
Can I email you back and get a couple weeks?
I mean, you got to have some idea, right?
Yeah, it's tough. I've been a part of some coaching groups, and I've had a lot of mentors, and dentistry. There's a lot of different avenues you can take. You know, I was having a conversation with Mom the other day. Like, we're kind of dinosaurs in the industry. Dentistry is being overrun by corporations, by big conglomerate corporations. They buy dental practices like ours. They come in, the Pacific Dental Services, Aspen Dental, they come in and they buy it, and they don't even change the name sometimes. They'll just buy it, and they'll keep the doctor, and they'll just keep it running as usual, but they're behind the scenes, and they're actually kind of making the decisions on everything, patient care and kind of policy and everything like that. So having an actual mom and pop, family-owned, single doc practice is almost the way of the dinosaur. You know, it's actually going. It's actually going.
You wouldn't really know unless you were in the industry.
So it's actually all going towards corporate, and so that's the transition we're in right now as an industry. And so for us, trying to figure out, I'm going to be a dentist. I tell patients all the time, you know, the biggest thing, new patients like, I want someone who's going to be here. Everything. It's like, yeah, I got 4 kids. I'm going to be here a long time. Don't worry about it. I'm going to be, my baby's 1. You got 20 years. You got at least 20 years, you know. All right. So, I mean, I don't have any plans to get out of dentistry or do anything like that. But I think working on it the last couple years, I know what I don't want. I don't want to conglomerize. I don't want to expand into this giant corporation. You know, I don't want to kind of go down that path that it's currently going, you know, and get caught up in that corporate world.
No, I think you lose touch with something,
For sure.
and with your patients, you don't have the same burden on your shoulders,
Well, yeah,
but
you
you kind of almost.
What's
need
different,
that.
you know, we're in healthcare, so, you know, they talk about HIPAA, like the Hippocratic Oath. It's like, do no harm to your patients. That's what the Hippocratic Oath is. And so we're there to take care of patients. We're there to serve the community, take care of people. You know, we have bills and we have numbers and a bottom line we can look at. But a lot of the coaches, a lot of the people out there in the dental world, that's all they want to look at, and that's all they want to talk about. You know, and that's not what I want to do. You know, that stuff doesn't really excite me. So, I mean, I think ultimately growing at a healthy pace, keeping up with kind of the trends. You know, we have a lot of, you know, we're blessed. We have a lot of patience, and so some type of expansion is going to be in order. Maybe bringing on another doctor, but it has to be the right doctor. You know, it has to be the right person. You know, very hesitant to just bring on. You know, I don't want to grow just for the sake of growth. You know, just to, you know, it's the common question they'll ask in like the coaching groups. Would you want to have a, you know, $3 million practice that does all these numbers, but your bills are 90% of that? Or would you rather have a small practice that does a lot less, $500,000, and, you know, your bills are 50% of that, you know, and you run your business a totally different
Good
way,
question.
you know? And so where do you want to go? You know, so I know where I don't want to go. I know I don't want to expand just for the sake of expanding, become busier. I know doctors who own 5 practices, 10 practices, you know, and a lot of them do okay. Some of them do great, some of them not so good. And you're managing the people, and you're managing a lot of different things. And so,
Yeah, you're not a doctor.
and that's not what I got into it for in the first place, you know. I'm real similar to Dad. I just kind of want to show up and take care of my patients and do right by my patients who are there, and then go home to my family and, you know, and make a decent living in the process. So, I mean, I think some type of growth is going to be warranted and healthy just to keep up with the trends, but I don't see this massive. Yeah, I can see Meraz Family Dental popping up, you know, 5, 10 different little shops all over the
Coachella
valley.
No. One in Palm Springs, one in DHS. We're not going to see
That's
that.
not in the cards.
Yeah,
you know.
but I mean, I think you're right. You want to hit that balance. You know, there is some potential growth, but, you know, you don't want to overextend yourself, and is it even worth it at that point?
Right.
So, last couple questions here, and we'll get out of here. Dad, best business advice you've gotten over the years?
The best business advice. What?
You got to think back for this one.
An interesting question. Yeah.
Michael, you're going to be next, so.
Best business.
time to
The
think
best
about it.
business advice is pay yourself first.
That was Grandma.
That was grandma.
That's
The grandma quote
That's a
right
grandma
there.
quote.
Pay yourself first.
Yeah. Because if you're not paid, then nobody eats. All right. If you have to put off, you know, that bank loan just another 5 days, 10 days, a week, a month, go ahead with a good conscience. You know, and that was another thing, you know, your grandma, my mom, always expressed, pay your bills on time. All right. She used to tell us that she enjoyed writing the checks out to the gas company, to the electric company, to the mortgage. She enjoyed that because they were getting paid, and she had the money in the account to do that. That was satisfying. That was a very, you know,
Well, yeah, you don't have
peaceful
that.
feeling, you know, to relieve that
worry.
anxiety and the worry that you were taking care of business there. But remember to pay yourself first.
Very good.
Because it is your business. It is your practice. You know, take care of your needs up front first. So,
Best business.
She can-
Grandma strikes again.
Well, she continuously
Right.
said that, you know, she would got to keep 10% always.
Right.
You know.
Michael?
set aside.
Best business advice. I have two that are kicking around in my head.
That'll work.
Save them.
One
we got
of
time.
them is going to start with the end in mind. So, you know,
You steal that from me.
is that one of yours? Is that what you say a lot?
I do say that all the
One
time.
of the exercises I've done is kind of your 2, 5, 10 year kind of map, and you write out where do you want your business and what do you want it to look like in 2 at certain intervals, 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, and you be as specific as possible. Like where is it going to be, what's it going to look like, as many things as you can imagine, and then you just get very, very specific, because if you don't define your goals and you don't define it's basically what do you want, it's like what do you want, and it's not the same for everybody. Like for me, I don't want the same thing as a lot of others. I don't want to own a lot of dental offices. I don't want to make a ton of money. I want to, have a healthy business, and I want to have enough time to be with my kids and live a comfortable life and take care of my family. Like that's pretty much it, Sure. And so you start with that in mind, and then you reverse engineer everything from that, and that's constantly going to evolve and change as you go. And you can do this every year, and you can do it with the big stuff, but you can also do it with the little stuff too. You can also do it with the stuff in your business and in your practice. Like I'm going to start this little side venture. I'm going to do this. What does that look like? It doesn't have to be these big glamorous things. So that's always really helpful to kind of have that mindset. And then the other one is just find good mentors, just latch on to certain people. And one of the things I've realized being in dental is there's a lot of people who will tell you what to do. There's a lot of people who are going to offer up information. There's a lot of podcasts out. There's dental podcasts. You can start a dental office from podcasts. You can go on a podcast and they'll tell you exactly everything that you should be doing in your dental practice, and I'm sure plenty of other industries too. But what I mean by finding is find one mentor, find one person, maybe two max. Because a lot of times what happened with me is I had all these people kind of in my ear telling me certain things, like you need to work on this and you need to do on this, and the next month I'm going to meet with this person, I'm going to work on this. And then you get so jumbled up in all of that information, you don't actually move on a lot of it because now you have all these certain things. And so what's been more successful for me these last couple of years, I have one person that I meet with, and they're knowledgeable about everything in the industry, not super specific, but just overall, and they can point me in the right direction. And if they don't know, they can hook me up with somebody else who can help me with that problem. And that for me has been much easier to focus and kind of, because when you have too many cooks in the kitchen, they call it, paralysis by analysis. There's just so much, and you can't make decisions, and you can't really. So narrowing that down, just a couple voices, in the room, and they're not always right. That's why you have to find a good mentor. And I'm not the guy I have. I'm not going to do it. He tells me, and I'm like, okay, I may or may not do that. We'll see. But I mean, I hear you. I hear what you're saying, right? And so
I'll take it into consideration.
I'll take it right, and thanks for weighing the pros and cons for me. And so, but that's just been much more beneficial for me because it just allows me to focus and kind of like, really, you just start to gain traction that way. It just simplifies things a lot more.
Oh, that's excellent advice. All right, last question, Dad. Worst business advice you've ever gotten?
Let's see, the worst. It probably had to do with an investment in a very well-known.
Thought you were going to say the partnership.
Losing the coin toss, yeah.
Winning the coin toss?
Yeah. Agreeing to do the coin toss?
Yeah, agreeing to do the coin toss? Was that the worst advice you took?
Well, it changed people's lives. Changed our lives. It changed my partner's lives because he moved down to Desert Hot Springs and relocated a practice. We still had a covenant not to compete, which was a 20-mile covenant, and that wasn't far enough that he was able to practice. Yeah, and that we both benefited from that. Bottom line, we both did. He got a new office. I took the one here in Indio. So that wasn't too bad. Anyway, I lost my train of thought.
So that's the worst piece of business advice you've ever heard?
It's got to rank up there.
It's a top 5. It's a top 5.
It's a contender.
There you go.
It's a contender.
Michael, worst business advice you've gotten? I know you've gotten some bad advice.
I'm sure I have.
I get bad advice all the time.
You get bad. Yeah. We try to think.
Do you give bad advice?
The jury's still out.
I don't even think. So this is a little more specific, but for us, I've heard a lot of people really push us to get on social media and really
the Gary V's of the world.
Really get a presence out there and really kind of promote yourself. And it's industry specific, right? If you're starting a brand new business, you're starting a coffee shop, you got to be on. So you got to be on TikTok. You got to be doing stuff.
Consumer based, you're going directly to consumer. You have to now.
But we're a dental office. We're a professional office. I like to keep a level of professional. Patients are going to kind of respect us and everything. If I'm there doing dances on like social media and stuff like that, it's like you don't need your dentist to be lip singing a song and kind of. It's fine. No, I have friends. I have friends.
The fence and see those fancy.
I have funny friends. I got a good buddy who's always dancing on Instagram. He's awesome. Like but for us as a business, I don't think that's helpful for us but mainly because we're already established.
Yeah,
we already have our clientele. But we don't need to kind of be that. If we were to do marketing and kind of get out there, it would probably even be more focused anyways. And we're going to practice what we always do and be safe. We've had these precautions that protect us and do all these things. We treat patients very sterile environment anyways, right? And so, but it is more just to be, it's more of a lesson just to be, just to take ownership of your bit. Don't just close your doors just because somebody all of a sudden says, this is what we're gonna. There was never any mandate.
Yeah,
there's never any California mandate to actually
there was no policemen checking to see if you guys.
It wasn't even. It wasn't. It wasn't. Well, we were essential workers.
Yeah,
we were for sure essential workers. So there was never a mandated. There was guidelines like only emergencies type things, but it's more just kind of. Just not just accept that information, not just take it and accept it and say, all right, we're closing. Like, let's critically look at this and actually figure out, and that's what we ended up doing. We closed for about 4 weeks. We did what we were supposed to, and then we started to see emergency patients. But it was more just a lesson in like, hey, let's not just automatically shut, at the blink, at the drop of a hat.
Right.
Like, let's let this play out. Let's see what's going on. Let's be smart.
Let's get some more
smart
information
right?
before we start taking people's livelihoods.
Right.
And the fact that people could die from an infected tooth. You think that'd be an impossibility in this day and age, but it's still a real possibility.
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
Once that infection crosses a certain point
in the
midline
gums
of the throat and mouth, it shuts off the airway. You can't breathe anymore, and it kills you. So for us to lock our doors, knowing that this is a reality of a dental infection, that it can cross a midline and shut off the esophagus and somebody's airway. We couldn't do that.
wasn't an option.
Well, that's not what we signed up for. We'll see patients who have the flu. We're going to see patients who are sick because they need to see us, right? So COVID is no different. We're still going to take patients in. We're going to wear our precautions and be safe and do everything we need to do.
Right.
But this is the industry we're in.
Well,
we're
there's an
healthcare.
argument to be made that you guys are safer than anybody because you'd already been dealing with flus and colds all these years, right? So there are already
We
precautions.
treat patients as if they're in landmines of infection. We glove up, we put the mask on, goggles, safety goggles.
Sure.
We protect our staffs and we protect ourselves from a possibility of an infectious disease. We've always done that.
Yeah.
We continue to do.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't know if I wouldn't say that was just an experience, just a learning experience. Like, hey, let's take ownership of the business and let's make an informed decision, but not drop everything at the drop of a hat. Like, we're more important than that. This is this is a dental office, right?
Even
like,
people don't think it, but it can happen.
Right,
so.
right. And so that, and there nobody knew what was right and wrong, and so it was just more just of a lesson to be learned, right? Kind of situation. So,
Amen.
Well, thanks for coming in, guys. This was fun.
Yeah, appreciate you coming in.
I'd like to get the insight of how stuff really goes down in your guys' office. So, thanks for listening, everybody. Where can people find you, Michael, if they want to get in touch with the office? Maybe they're looking for a new dentist.
Yeah, so we're right on 111 in Jefferson, right across from Shields. There's probably about 4 other dentists right in that same area. So it's Dr. Meraz, M-E-R-A-Z. Is the DBA's is Super Smiles is the office. So if you Google Super Smiles, Dr. Meraz, Indio, it'll come
all
right
pop
up.
up.
It'll all pop up right there.
40 years of being in the desert and helping the community. You the proof is in the pudding on that. I don't even think you guys need to sell it. So, thanks for coming in.
Thank
this
you
was
so
fun.
much. We appreciate your
course.
time.
And as always, like, share, and subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys next time.